Hey, welcome back everybody. It's John from Live and Ready. Thanks for joining me again, and thank you for all of your encouragement for my first video, little pilot, just to see how it went. It was well received by the sounds of it, and yeah, here we are again. But I do have a confession to make. First of all, I know exactly what you're thinking. He's got a dibber. So after I relentlessly mocked dibbers, it's not the actual dibber that I mocked, it's just the name, but my mum number two, fabulous lady that she is, decided to buy me a dibber so that when I'm actually doing the seeds next time, it's a whole lot easier and the seeds get right down to a point. Apparently it's going to be so much better, and so I believe her. The other thing that I've learned as well is, first of all, I've got my tray with my soil already in here now, compost, sorry. When you are filling up trays with compost, and you saw me last time trying to firm down, because I was doing peppers, it says you have to kind of firm it down. Well, let's smooth it off, and instead of spending 30 seconds doing all of this palaver, what you do is you simply get another tray and press it down. Job done. Why didn't I think of that before? But so there's so much to learn, there really is, but hopefully these little tips can help you anyway. Also, if you can't afford these things, because they do cost money, people like to make a profit, use egg cartons. My friend Anita made some comments. Just use egg cartons, fill them with compost, and then not right to the top, and then cover them with cling film, and it's exactly the same as having these, only it's so much more environmentally friendly and cheap. So brilliant. Thanks for top tips. But listen, what I want to do, this isn't all just about food and growing your own food, because one of my friends thought it was a gardening channel, which it isn't. So I thought I'd better take you somewhere else and explain. So if you just hang fire, we'll go for a little bit of a journey and I'll be back. Hey everybody, welcome to the cabin. I just wanted to have a chat a little bit about what Living Ready is, because I've had a real strong sense of why I'm doing this, but it takes a while to communicate all of that, because this has been developing over a period of about 9 months, I think. And so a key question that I need to ask myself and share with you is what is Living Ready and what are we getting ready for? And I had another friend, Alison, when we met in this cabin, and we were talking about these things. I had all kinds of practical ideas to share with people, but then she just went, but what are we preparing for? Which was a fabulous question. So in the first video, we've been talking about food and growing your own food. But why? Why grow your own food? Let's just spend a little bit of time thinking about this, because it means different things to different people. And what does that do relating to Living Ready, as this channel wants to kind of communicate? Well, some people might be thinking about affordability. You know, prices at the supermarkets are going up. Fruit and veg, when you're buying fresh stuff, it's always more expensive. It's always healthier for you, but it's always more expensive. And so with prices going up, growing your own, great, it's a really helpful idea. Some people are concerned about the chemicals and pesticides that farmers use when they're growing these foods, because we're eating those chemicals and pesticides to a degree, and ingesting that's probably not good for you. Some people are also go a step further and thinking, well, hold on a second, we're supposed to be stewarding this earth well and the land well, and chemicals are damaging the soil. And it's true, the health of the soil is depleting massively, and that's why things like organic farming and different types of farming are regenerative farming. It's about regenerating the soil so that we can have healthy soil and grow more stuff. Other people might think, oh my goodness, we are so over-reliant on imports. Did you know that 60% of our fruit and veg is imported? We don't grow it in the UK, it's actually imported. I didn't know that until recently. And then there's the climate cost of importing. Why import all of this fruit and veg from other countries and all of the associated costs and pollution when we could just grow it in our country and possibly have it cheaper as well? So there's lots of different questions. But you know, some of the stuff around supermarkets is that there's such demand because they're such big beasts when it comes to high volume and low quality quite often, That's the other thing we have to take into account is what quality of food are we consuming. And there's a lack of nutrients. When you use more pesticides and more chemicals, the nutrients that are actually in the plants get depleted. And obviously there's not enough nutrients in the soil to come into the plants as well, so that gets depleted as well. Then there's all kinds of other questions around food resilience in the UK. Now the government have clocked this a little bit, and so how resilient are we as a nation when it comes to food? Because things happen in this world, and actually if we are importing so much and we're not self-sufficient in producing our own food, there's a bit of a concern there as well. So I'm trying to think around, and even the government are thinking around, they've produced a website now for families to say, how you could as a family become more resilient in the future so that we're not fully dependent on the government trying to bail us out for everything. But it goes even further than that, because when you look at it, our supply chains are actually quite frail. When you think about COVID, for example, or demonstrations and protests, or other things that can have an impact on our supply chains, getting food from A to B to C, from from growers to transport and distribution through to supermarkets through to consumers, that can fall apart. And we've seen that before. And if we have mass demonstrations at ports, for example, our imports, we won't be able to have the food coming in as free flowing. So then empty shelves at supermarkets. We've seen that recently as well. But weather, there's an impact when weather has an impact on growing, and then can have an impact on seasonal produce. War in Ukraine, I mean, that was called the breadbasket of Europe because of all of the grain and wheat that it was producing, but then that's had a massive impact globally because of the war with Russia. The price of oil's gone up astronomically. It just all knocks on, doesn't it? And so, one of the things that I wanted to communicate in this channel is that lots of people who do think about these things can respond in fear. And that's really unhealthy, because although we're talking about food, which is good for our body, the way that we respond to things and the way that we live our lives is important, because how we think is actually how we are. And so if we are fearful, if we respond to this in fear, it affects our emotions, and then it affects our body. So it's not very healthy at all. And I just want to say that we need to be able to be concerned, and that's okay, but actually we don't need to live in fear. And so what I'm talking about and proposing is a new way of doing things, even in the small things. We talked about small things and big things. And so I want to encourage a new activity, a new journey, a new focus, a new hobby maybe, because there's lots to learn and discover around growing food. But this isn't just about gardening, like my friend thought it was. It's not a gardening channel. It's actually so much more, because even if you don't have a garden, there is some things coming that I want to be digging into, pun, so that we can learn together way beyond food production. Because actually, when we're talking about living ready, it's more than providing ourselves food for our families in difficult times, should that happen. But actually, we're more than just bodies, and we're more than just minds, and we're more than just emotions. We've actually got a human spirit, and so when we are made as human beings, we have a body, we have a soul, and we have a spirit. And the spirit is the bit that relates to God, and the bit that relates to the spiritual world, which is also very, very real. And I want to be able to provide some insights and some really helpful things about how do we get ready, how do we get our hearts ready, not just for living lives in this life, but also for the next life, which is actually more important, because that's eternal. And so we're going to be tackling a variety of important topics and discussions. And as a believer in Jesus and a follower of Jesus, it's crucial to have that faith element in here, because faith dispels fear. And that's a really important thing. If you are struggling with fear in response to these kind of questions, then there is a way through this to get out of the fear and into a freedom to live life the way that we were designed to live life. Because things do get tough. So I want to share things and maybe some keys which can help you not just to, I hate the word thrive because everybody overuses it, not just to be able to provide for yourself and to prepare for things that might come and be resilient if they do come along, but I want to combine lots of conversations so that we can holistically look at life and live ready together in a lot more ways than one. So I'm excited for the journey ahead, and I hope you are too, and join us next time. So have a good week. Take care. Bye.